Good morning, everybody. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Time 10. I'm going to start MCS 14 today's class. Let Give me 2-3 minutes more. That's the students are joining. So let them allow to join one by one. And first and foremost, wishing all of you Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year too. We will meet after today, supposed in the New Year. One more session have been arranged by Tapan. He told me that the next class will be the 2nd of Jan. But I'm not yet make him confirm because I don't know whether 2nd of January I will available or not. One program is pre-scheduled for me. If I can take, I will let him know, and accordingly you will get informed. And if I cancel, accordingly I will inform him at 28th of this month. I will try my best to take the 2nd January class, and your syllabus will be completed because 4 sessions will be arranged. I don't know how many sessions have been arranged. Actually, 5 sessions are supposed to. So today is your second session of MCS 14. Okay, I am continuing from the in continuations of the previous day session. That is, I started with SDLC, then I gradually come to discuss the models today. And after any time permits and next any further class will be allocated, I will take an example of an existing system, that is a university or school, what a system is basically to you. And based on these systems, I will take this, the entire life cycle I will sketch. So actually the software engineering or whatever you can know, the SAD is constructed based upon a story. That means without having a live demonstrations, without having a case, without taking an example, a life cycle formation is not possible. Therefore, I want to take an live example of a life cycle of an existing system, and what are the requirement of making automations of these systems. I will want to discuss it gradually. And if time permits, I will also discuss the DFT. This is the major important sections of the things, and according to along with me, you have to sketch the DFTs too. Next, the foremost things which the students have already started by giving it. No more repetitions. The students, please give your name, enrollment number, and study center in the chat box. So that will be taken as your attendance, as like the previous day sessions. As per the participant list showing me that 10 students are joined now. So I'm going to start it. And students, please requesting you one by one, give your name, enrollment number, and study center in the chat box. That will be counted as your attendance. It will be automatically saved. I can't recall the name of the previous students. I don't know whether you will be in the previous day sessions or not. But guys, I have no other option other than continue from the previous session because it's a continuing session. So previously I started with the discussions which named as the SDLC or System Development Lifecycle. So till let I'm allowing other to join. Besides this, without sharing the screen, I'm not going to share now. First of all, I will discuss what SDLC is. Actually, I'm entering in the deeper part and details part of the SDLC, and after that, I want to enter in the modeling section. Through SDLC, I gradually enter in the models too. So my today's session will be initiated because previous day I gave a rough sketch of the SDLC. I discussed many more stages and steps of SDLC. Today I will discuss once again. I repeat the details part of the SDLC. So it's the beginning. I start with how SDLC works from there. In previous sessions, also mentioned it's this. So I started with a detailed part of the SDLC, software development lifecycle, or in our term, it is system development lifecycle. I start with this one. They are still joining. Sorry. Basically, friends, streamlined development it relies on a consistent methodology. It's a clearly defined process from getting a point of source, that is the initiations or development, to a point of origin, that is point of A to B. If you are just getting your feet wet in the wide world of the development, we basically need to understand the software development lifecycle or SDLC. But we prefer to mention without software development lifecycle, it is the system develop. It is more preferably said that it's the system development lifecycle. So we better to discuss with the system development lifecycle. Any concept first and foremost starts with a definition. So from the definitions, I will enter how it works, and therefore I discuss the working of SDLC. SDLC or software development lifecycle or system development lifecycle, what you can call. I again repeat, it's better to call system development lifecycle. It's basically a process that produces software with the highest quality and lowest cost. Highest quality, lowest cost, shortest time. SDLC includes a detailed plan for how to develop, how to alter, how to maintain and replace a software system. You can recall our previous sessions, we discussed that we can develop from scratch, we can alter or update the system, we can maintain any one, and we can replace the existing one with a newer introduction. So all those concepts having different terminologies, that is automation, upgradation, re-engineering, etc. So therefore, SDLC involves several distinct stages. Those are including planning, designing, building, testing, and deployment. Deployment is the implementation and maintenance. Popular SDLC models include the waterfall model, spiral model, and agile model. We will gradually discuss some of the important models of SDLC too. Now, our next phase of discussion, how SDLC work. Basically, we want to discuss how SDLC work. So we can explain the steps and stages in better details. My dear students, SDLC works by lowering the cost of software development while simultaneously improving the quality and shortening the production time. Therefore, SDLC achieves these apparently divergent goals by following a plan that removes the typical pitfalls to a software development projects. The plan starts by evaluating existing systems for its deficiencies. Next, it defines the requirements of the new system. It then creates the software through the stages of design, development, testing, and deployment. So by anticipating costly mistakes, say like failing to ask the end user for suggestions, etc., SDLC can eliminate redundant rework and after the fact fixes. So that's the SDLC's working background. We are entering, once again, I repeat, in the deeper part of SDLC. So it is the stages and best practices of SDLC. We can mention some of the best practices and or stages of SDLC that ensures the process works in a smooth, efficient, and productive way. Let's come to the stages. Stages, it may be decided, it may be the phases also. Stage number one or phase number one. First, it's required to identify the current problems. Second is plan, design, what I mentioned before, plan, design, build, test, deploy, and maintain. I will discuss those one by one. First and foremost step is identify the current problems. What is this? I told in our previous session, because the introductory part I already discussed in previous sessions, you can recall those who are remain present definitely. Those who are remain present, you can recall that this is associated or all the steps and stages or pre-analysis steps also remain associated with minimum WH questions. So the phases are also remain associated with many more WH questions, and we want to attack the questions one by one. New students are joining. So the first one, that is the identify the current problem, is basically associated with the question, what don't we want? What don't we want? Okay, I repeat, what don't we want? This stage of SDLC means getting input from all stakeholders, including customers, salespeople, industry experts, and obviously the programmers. So, to learn the strengths and weaknesses of the current system with improvement is the goal. This is the first step, identify the current problem. Second step is plan. It remains associated with the question, what do we want? What do we want? Actually, what we are wanting. In this stage of SDLC, the team defines the requirements of new software, determines the cost and resources required. So it also details the risk involved and provides sub-plans for softening those risks. So in this stage, a software requirement specification document is created. Software design requirements specifications related document. Third phase is design. I already told you that design is the largest phase of software development lifecycle. So design phase also remain associated with one of the WH question, that is, how will we get what we want? How will we get what we want? It is also WH question started with H, how. So basically the questions are known as W5HH questions. 5 questions initiated started letter W and 2 questions initiated with starting letter H. So design is the H phase. It is how will we get what we want. This phase of SDLC starts by turning the software specifications into a design plan. It is called design specification. That means software specification turned into design specifications. All the stakeholders then review the EASE plan and offer feedback and suggestions. It's crucial to have a plan for the collecting and incorporating stakeholders' input into this document. So therefore, failure at this stage will almost certainly result in the cost overruns at best and total collapse of the project at worst. So they are having two sides, best side and worst sides too. Oh, students are getting joined. Now the the fourth phase, namely it is build. Altogether, we are thinking about seven phase. So we are in the fourth phase, build. It is not a question. Basically, it is a statement. It says that let's create what we want. Let's create what we want. That means design completed. It's the development stage. In this SDLC stage, it develops the software by generating all the actual code. If the previous steps have been followed with attention to detail, this is actually the least complicated step. This is the build step. Fifth one, test. It is known, did we get what we want? Again a question. Did we get what we want? In this stage, we test for the defects and deficiencies. We test for the defects and deficiencies. We fix those issues until the product meets the original specifications. Until the product meets the original specification. Next one, deploy. Next step is deploy. It means that it's also remain associated with the statement that let's start using what we got. Let's start using what we got. Often this part of the SDLC process happens in a limited way at first. This part of SDLC process happens in a limited way at first, depending on the feedback from end users. More adjustments can be made. Depending on the feedback from end users, the more adjustments can be made at this stage. Let's come to the seventh and ending phase of SDLC in our discussion. It is called the maintain phase. It's known as let's get the closer to what we want. It's also remain associated with the statement let's get this closer to what we want. Okay. The plan almost never turns out perfect. The plan almost never turns out perfect when it meets reality. This is the fact. So further, as conditions in the real world change, we need to update and advance the software too much. So this is the maintain phase. There are a number of students are participating. Joining.
Hello?
Hello. Who's asking? Anything? Anything to be asked?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Then, after discussing the seven phase altogether, all seven phases basically, the developers movement has changed. The developers movement has changed the SDLC in some ways. That means basically the entire SDLC cannot be followed in toto. Somehow, somewhere, somewhat, it requires to make altered or customized according to your ways. So this is called the paradigm shift of the software development or system development paradigm. Developers are now responsible for more and more steps of the entire development processes. Somehow, we also see the value of shifting left when development and operator teams use the same toolset to track performance and pin down the defects from inception to the retirement of an application. That means old one is rejected, new one is being accepted. This provides a common language and faster handoffs between the teams. Somehow, somewhere, APM tools can be used in development, application program maintenance, somehow QA, question answering, and production. So, this keeps everyone using the same toolset across the entire development life cycle. I already told the SDLC follows some of the models. It is repeatedly mentioned in our discussion, in our books, in our standard mode of discussion, and while we are going to mention the concept of SDLC. So friends, we are gradually entering in the discussion of the modeling, and first I will give a very brief overview of the model. I will highlight one mostly used model. Then once again I come back to discuss with all of the models in our sketch. So the most common SDLC examples, the SDLC models as listed as waterfall model, agile model, iterative model, V-shaped model, Big Bang model, and spiral model. Let us introduce one by one. Those are the most recently used model. So first one is the first and foremost and primemost one is obviously always the waterfall model. This STLC model is the oldest and most straightforward. With this methodology, we finish one phase and then starts the next. So each phase has its own minimum plan and each phase waterfalls into the next. That means jumps into the next. The biggest drawback of this model is that small details left incomplete and can hold up the entire processes. Small details left incomplete that can hold up the entire process. That's the major drawback of this process. I will repeat all those in details. I will come back with all those models in detail, but which are included in your syllabus. But you should know the name of the models and what are the basic characteristic features of those models too. So after waterfall model, they mentioned the second model, which named as agile model. Agile SDLC model separates the product into cycles and delivers a working product very quickly. This methodology produces a succession of releases. Testing of each release, it feeds back into that's incorporated into the next version. According to Robert Huff, one of the management personnel and the software engineering expert too, he said the drawback of this agile model is that at the heavy emphasis on customer interaction can lead the project in the wrong direction in some cases. Now the third one to be named, which are named as iterative model, and somehow somewhere some persons are used to say it's iterative model. Any iterations or iterations mean loop type of work. That means repetitive work starting with the initial starting conditions. It ended with the pre-specified conditions and the model progress That means incremented the steps or decrementing as like for loop in C programming, one step forward. So the iterative model says this STLC model emphasizes repetition. Developers create a version very quickly and for relatively little cost and can test and improve it throughout rapid and successive versions. But one big disadvantage here is that it can eat up the resources fast if left unchecked. Very, very much resource hungry process. Next one to V-shaped model. It is nothing but an extension of the waterfall model. This STLC methodology at each stage of the development, and as it waterfall, this process can run into the roadblocks. Just like what can I say? Just like a waterfall, which are very much preventing causing the roadblock. Now we come to the Big Bang model, BIGBANG, the name of Big Bang known to all of you. It is high risk SDLC model, throws most of its resources at the development and works best for small projects. It tracks and lacks the thorough requirements of definition stage of other methods. It's not so important in our case. We are basically preferred to waterfall in PCA standards projects, and all projects waterfall can be equally applicable. And mostly we are used to use the spiral model, which is now my cup of discussion. The spiral model is basically the flexible of SDLC models. It is the flexible most model. In your project case, in your PCMCA syllabus, mostly two models are important. One is waterfall and spiral. Whatever the projects or types of projects will be, you must incorporate all those models in your projects, or that means waterfall and spiral, or based on either spiral or waterfall, may construct your project. It is known as most flexible of the SDLC models. That means almost all the models, it is the flexible most. The spiral model is similar to the iterative model in its emphasis on repetitions. Here also a case of repetitions will appear. Spiral model goes through planning, designing, build and test phase over and over. Once again, I repeat, the spiral model goes through planning, design, build, test phases over and over with the gradual improvements at each pass. That means it is a spiral looping methodologies are there. That means each and every pass, the same thing will be repeated. Abhijit Kundu, if you won't mind, you just hide your video. Okay. It takes much more resources. And the thing is that those who are not yet given your attendance in the chat box, write your name, enrollment number, and study center in the chat box. I repeat, this is counted as your attendance. Till now, it's 10:30. Students are joining. So how much they will engulf? Now come to, after giving the overview of the models, I come to discuss the benefits of SDLC. Because we discussed a lot about SDLC and we are still in the modeling phase. SDLC done right, it can allow the highest level of management control and documentation. Developers understand what they should build and why through SDLC. All parties agree on the goal upfront and see a clear plan for arriving at the goal. Everyone understands the cost and resources required. That means we can make it a point. SDLC gives you the management control and documentation help. This is the first thing. Through this, the point number two, developers understand what they are going to build, what should build, and why and how. All stakeholders having a can get an overview of the clear goal, clear plan, and how to reach the goal. And everyone understand the cost and resources of the project. There are cost and resources for the project. I told you the project is repeated. Several pitfalls can turn an SDLC implementation into more of a roadblock to development than a tool that helps us. Failure to take into account the needs of customers and all users and stakeholders that can result in a poor understanding of the system requirements at the outset. The benefits of SDLC only exist if the plan is followed faithfully. The first introduced process model in SDLC is waterfall model, and hence it is the basic mode of SDLC, which is also known as mother of all other models. So it is simple to understand and use. It is referred as a linear sequential life cycle model where each phase should be executed fully before the next phase can begin. Each phase should be executed fully before the next phase can begin. The model is basically used for the project where there are no uncertain requirements and small requirements. There are no uncertain requirements mentioning. So here the testing starts only when the development is complete. The phases do not overlap in the waterfall model. That means through the benefits of while discussing the benefits of the SDLC, gradually we are entering in the concept of the first used model, that is waterfall model, which is considered one of the oldest one. And based on this oldest one model, the entire SDLC is supported. And this is the robust model. This is the simple most model. Only the problem is that once one step and stages is completed, you can go back for the next one. So this is the SDLC waterfall. We are mentioning the waterfall. We are in the going details in the waterfall. Before discussing the waterfall in details, I mention one more thing. My friends, my students, my beloved students, you should know the point of what can I say? The point of two terminologies better while to deal with SDLC. What are the terminologies? Basically, the terminologies is giving you the indication that's I say two words you should know side by side. One is project, another is product. Throughout your BCA course, you have to do a lot, which is basically project. That means at the end of your course, you have to submit a project. What is a project? Project is nothing but the steps and stages of work. Project, project is nothing but all the steps and stages of work. Project consists of so many tasks, which is known as the ongoing activity. Okay, once again I repeat what we are discussing. We are discussing about the difference between project and product. Project is a set of activities. It's basically an ongoing task where we have to take care about take care about a product to be completed. The product is something which must have the economic value. Product, it may be 1 rupee value, it may be a 1 crore value. So the software developer are actually developing or constructing a product. Say you people are the vendor or the software developer, you basically constructing a product. That means what you are developing, you should have or should expect some economic value from there. You should expect some economic value from there. That's why you are developing a product. For constructing the product, you must set a number of steps to be developed. For constructing this product, you must need to develop a set of product. What can I say? The set of steps. The set of steps altogether is known as the project. That means when you start or initiate the plan, till you have not completely delivered it to the customer, by without your support, it's in the project stage. And when they become independent by using your product without taking any of the help from your end, this became a product. And now there are no further mentionings of any project. Okay. So now come to discuss the concept of our waterfall model. I told you what are the beginning of the waterfall model. Here we are coming to discuss the figure, etc., and then we will discuss. First, let I am sharing our waterfall model steps and stages. I'm sharing in the screen. I am sharing the picture of waterfall model here. Yes, it is here. Waterfall model. This is the ideal standard waterfall model image. Look, the modern waterfall model having the steps. All the rectangles are individually the steps, and after completions of one steps, the second will be initiated. It almost looks like a staircase through which you are coming down from top to bottom as water flows from upward to downward. That's why this gives as name as waterfall model. One stage jumps over to another. Therefore, the problem is that when or until and unless when the first step is not completed, the second cannot be initiated. What are the actual steps in this? It is the mostly used waterfall models, which is modified and being advanced here. So this is known as the waterfall model. The name of the waterfall model is that the first one is requirement collection. Second step's name is feasibility study. Third is, that means basically combining the first two, we prefer to say it's the analysis, larger phase. Second, or here it is third, the design, largest phase, then coding, then testing, then installations of the softwares and maintenance. Installation and maintenance together will call deployment. And in the first requirement collection feasibility study together is called the analysis phase. That's the staircase model, or you can say the waterfall model. Well, now we are come to discuss the stop my sharing and I am discussing it. The waterfall model. first steps is to know when to use the waterfall model. When to use. It is for the waterfall model can be used when the application definition is stable, the requirements are well known, clear, and understood. Third, requirement should not has any ambiguousness. And the last point is that the project is smaller. That the application definition is stable, requirements are well known, clear, and understood. The requirement should not has any ambiguities. The project is smaller. The advantages of this process is that in this model, each stage are clearly defined. The model is simple and easy to understand and use. In this model, execution happens sequentially. In this model, phases are executed and completed one at a time and phases do not overlap. Waterfall model suits well for the projects where requirements are well understood and for shorter projects. Obviously, it is mentioned repeatedly anywhere that is it's always applicable for a smaller size of projects. No one knows what is the boundary of the project, what is the smaller and what is the larger, till you should know which one is the smaller one. That means it's having not so much complications. So the smaller one, and in this model, each phase, processes, and results are documented well. But my dear all, you should know where there is an advantage or number of advantages are there, there should have lot of disadvantages too. So it is the preliminary model, it's the starting phase of model, it's the initiations model. They are having a number of disadvantages too. The model is not suitable for complex and object-oriented projects. Number one point of the disadvantage of existing waterfall model. That's why waterfall model needed to modify. What are the disadvantages? The model is not suitable for complex and object-oriented projects. But till you can notice, many of the object-oriented languages, many of the object, I'm not mentioning a particular model which is Android or etc., which is considered as the object-oriented model. I just mentioned the many of the projects which are developed through object-oriented languages like Java, JSP, etc. Till we are believed to use waterfall model. So it is said in the book, this model is not suitable for complex and object-oriented projects. Next, in this waterfall model, the requirement changes are very difficult once an application is in the testing phase. It is very much noticeable that when the second phase, suppose you are in the second or third phase, you felt something lost from the previous phase. According to if the project is developed or constructed through waterfall model, it is cannot be turned back to the previous one. It cannot be turned back. So in this waterfall model, requirement changes are very difficult once an application is in the testing phase. That means you can't go back from the testing to previous phase. Changes are not allowed here. The changes are not allowed, hence it is not suitable for moderate to high risk of changing projects. Changes are not allowed, hence it is not suitable for moderate to high risk of changing projects. Fourth disadvantage is that after development of the product, And if any deviations occurs, then the cost, once again, after development of the product is totally developed, think about it. And if any deviation occurs, when the product is completed already, the deviations is required. So then the cost of fixing those issues are high and time consumption is more, because we need to update from the document till the code. Next disadvantage is that time consumption is more because of the each phase should execute it completely. Completion requires of one phase, in the other will be started. Since it is executed, next point, since it is executed in sequential order, the parallel deliverables are not possible. Next point is that in this phase there is risk and uncertainty. Next, it is not suitable for the projects where requirements are at a moderate to high risk of changing. Next, there is no cluster interaction during the development of the product. There is no cluster interaction during the development of the product. And there is no customer interactions too. So when the product is developed, the customer interaction is not possible. That's all the defects or disadvantages of the waterfall model. I talked a lot about the waterfall model. Then I am going to discuss that there are models in more details, one by one, but first and foremost, giving an overview there. Now I'm going to share some of the important model which are includes in your syllabus. As I am in a PPT, suppose the PPT is now on before you. I'm going to run my slideshow now. Previous day I completed, before that, that is the system development methodologies. Today, and that means the phase 7. Today I am in the systems development methodologies. All those methodologies having a synonym as model. Here we are in the development methodologies, which are nothing but the models too. So the models name are, or different development methodologies are, which are included in your syllabus. Waterfall methodology, rapid application development or RAD model, extreme programming, it is not so essential for all of you, agile methodology. I talked a lot about the waterfall model. So it's basically what is what? It's a sequential activity-based process in which each phase is the SDLC is performed sequentially from planning through implementations. And actually the planning through implementations, if you can use the rectangle, you can use the rectangle, any symbols here, elliptical signs are used in some books. And steps are mentioned by mentioning the sequence, planning, analysis, design, development, testing, implementations, as well as the maintenance. We come to the second one. Rapid action development. Rapid application. Somebody used to say rapid applications development, RAD. It's having another nickname, rapid prototyping. Emphasis extensive users involved in the rapid and evolutionary construction of working prototypes of a system is required to accelerate the system's development process. Now, one more term we have used here, that is a prototype. So, what is prototype? It's basically a smaller scale representation or working model of the user's requirements or a proposed design for an information system. Those who have learned a basic programming, you are BCA MCA students, so you have understood the word prototype, which we are generally used for defining a function prototype or signature of the function. Look, the structure of rapid application development process. It's the planning and analysis, then the prototyping cycle started. Here come the design, development, and testing repeatedly going on. And these three are intermingled within the prototypical structure. Then go for the implementation and maintenance. It's a very short while project development actually. This model is enhanced through, just a minute, I want to, this model is enhanced through extreme programming structure. It is called XP, extreme programming. It breaks a project into tiny phases. Nowadays, it's very much followed. The tiny phases is called the modules. Therefore, the each project development is called the modular development. When you have to construct your own project, you should go with the modular. And it is asked in your Viva to see that how many modules in your project. It breaks a project into tiny phases, and developers cannot continue on to the next phase until the first phase is complete. So inside prototyping, inside XP structure, there should remain a small butterfly existence. So therefore, is planning. Here you can say in XP structure, XP prototyping, that means in between planning and maintenance, a cyclical development going on. What is the cyclical development? Analysis, design, development, testing, and implementation. That means XP structure. This is the small prototype. Before planning, that means before maintenance, these phases repeated more and more, and each of the smaller phase follows its own individual waterfall model. Then comes to agile methodology. It is also a form of XP. Agile is the mostly customized model. Okay. So agile methodology is a form of XP, aims for customer satisfaction through early and continuous delivery of useful software components. Sometimes the project cannot be developed by your own. So the charge is taken by some of the parties and it is handed over by other parties. Sorry, page up. When yes, yes, yeah. Just a minute. I want to mention it here. So, two primary choices to build the IT systems of great size and complexity. It shows the insourcing involving choosing IT specialists within your organizations to develop the system. And second one is outsourcing, that is the delegation of specific work to a third party for a specified length of time at a specified cost and at a specified level of service. So that's the outsourcing. Next, we come to discuss the outsourcing options. IT outsourcing for software development can take one of four platforms: purchasing existing software and paying the publishers to make certain modifications, purchase existing software and paying the publishers for right to make modifications, outsource the development of an entirely new and unique system for the commonly existing software. We are discussing here the outsourcing options more. Say first the pyramid showing your organization. First option is purchase the existing software. Second option in other sides of the pyramid, that is purchase existing software and pay publisher to make it certain modifications. It moves like the cyclical fashion, clockwise fashions after 1, 2, and look at the base of the pyramid in the darker side. The third phase is that purchase the software and pay publisher for the right to make changes yourself. And in the brighter sides of this outsource option, that is outsource the development of an entirely new and unique system for which no software exists. Outsource is nowadays one of the wondering and striking phenomena. So outsourcing options, there are three different forms of outsourcing. One is onshore outsourcing. This is the process of engaging another company within the same country for services within same country, mentioning that. Next is near shore outsourcing, contracting and outsourcing arrangements with the company in a nearby country. And last one is offshore outsourcing, contracting with a company that is geographically far away. Geographically far away. So those are the different type of outsourcing. Offshore outsourcing countries are India, China, Eastern Europe, that is including Russia, Ireland, Israel, and Philippines. That's why the China's boom are now causing the disruptions in the supply chain. What are the advantages of outsourcing? Focus on unique core competencies, exploit the intellect of another organization, better predict future cost, acquire leading edge technology, reduce cost, and improve performance accountability. The disadvantages of the outsourcing are it reduces the technical know-how for future innovation, it reduces degree of control, it increases the vulnerability of your strategic informations, and last foremost is that it increases dependency on other organization. Here are some of the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing. It's a previous study shows the salary ranges vary here in different countries. So, how many slides are there? I will discuss the business process outsourcing and the prototyping from the next day onwards. And if time permits, I want to discuss with you a very basic structure, taking a example of an existing software. Based on this, I will discuss that. Sorry, existing topic. That means existing idea, existing story, say for school, university, etc. How you have to construct your project. By taking example of this, I will analyze the entire life cycles of these things. I decided to do so. So therefore, it's all for today, and you must form a group. Definitely, in this group, I want to deliver the notes and whatever I will prepare and all together, so that all of you will get the content whichever assigned to you. Okay, that means whichever I discussed in the PPT and my basic notes and some of the things if I can prepare it. Okay, so you must prepare a group along with your study center or with the RC, so that I can deliver the content in the group as well as I can deliver it to the Tapan sir. He will deliver directly to you. Thank you all for participating. We will meet supposed in the 2nd January.